Monday morning. Mikey's trash, I'm sure. It's easy, one never brings anything back from lunch. See him walking down there in the distance. Going to bark trees. Cahill's fueling the skidder. He gets done fueling, I'm gonna fuel the cat. We'll wait for some logs to come out. Now I'm actually gonna put a new chain on my saw today because I've bucked everything here with one chain. Sharpened a few times, of course, getting in this dirty stuff. It's not terrible up here because there's not a lot of grit and stuff in the soil like it is back home, but yeah, it's getting to where it's getting in bad shape. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a new chain on today. And I just run on my buck saw, I run that chisel chain, square chain, chisel chain, whatever you want to call it. I like it for bucking. One thing I have noticed about it, it does like it throws stuff at you. It grabs, and of course you better have some kind of face protection on because it'll throw stuff at you, whether it be bark or whatever. I don't like bore cutting with it, as far as boring out trees like these walnut. Oh, there goes a B2. I see it up there. Maybe. Hey, Cahill. Cahill. B2. It's a B2 stealth bomber from Whiteman Air Force Base there. There you can see it. That's pretty cool. Anytime we get to work close to Whiteman, we see a lot of stuff like this, which we're not too terribly far from Whiteman. As the crow flies, maybe 30 miles, maybe. Oh, how far did I zoom out? Way too far. Anyway, there's probably oh yeah, there is another one right there. Now there's two of them. There's the other one right there. Pretty cool stuff. There's the other one. Loud, my gosh, they're loud. Yep, that's pretty cool getting to be around that stuff all the time. I never get tired of seeing that stuff. What's really cool is getting to work up around Whiteman. We've actually got a job up there we need to go cut when we leave here. But getting to work up there around Whiteman Air Force Base and getting to see that stuff all the time. There was one winter we worked, I mean, not even a mile east of the base there. It was cool. Every day was like an air show. It really was. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, back to chain. Yeah, I don't like cutting the walnut with the square chain. It's just, to me, it seems like when I'm boring out the trees, it just seems like it's hard to, it wants to push out. So I like to use a round chain, a semi-chisel, which I've got a couple of different saws on the back of the truck, and one saw I keep for mainly just cutting trees. And of course, my older 661, I just call it my buck saw because that's all it does is buck. We're zoomed way, and we need to zoom back out. Anyway, so Cahill's headed into the woods right now. Get the first drag of the morning. I'm gonna go ahead and get the skid steer over here, get it greased, get it fueled. Need to tighten up that track. That track's a little loose on this side. Of course, we threw that track a couple months ago. Like to never got that back on. That's the only complaint I've really got against these cat machines. They seem like they're real prone to throwing tracks. I've talked to a few other people that say the same thing. But other than that, they're great machines. But throwing tracks is definitely a problem. Anyway, we'll wait for the first set of logs to come out. Now, maintenance and stuff is usually not something I get into too much on my videos. And the reason being, everybody's got their own maintenance routine or regiment. Like I mentioned just previously, I was going to put a new chain on this morning. I've got a new chain laid out right here. So, of course, you can kind of see it running here. Kind of gives you the details. As far as bark hair, and this is something my dad was kind of adamant about years ago when I kind of started being around a chainsaw, using the chainsaw a lot more, whether it be for cutting or bucking. I keep some old files on hand, and you guys that saw a lot, I'm not telling you anything new, but these edges will start to roll, And when they start to roll out, your chain will start to roll out. So what I like to do every time I put a new chain on, of course, I flip my bar. My bar was on, because I've had people comment, oh, your bar is on upside down. Yeah, no joke. That's like that for a reason. So my bar was upside down like that. So this time around, I'll flip my bar like this. But what I'll do previous to that, what I've already started doing, I take this old file and I'll go through here and I'll file this kind of lip or burr off the bar. And a lot of that, like I said, these bars wear like anything does. Your chain will roll. It'll try to roll out of the groove. So bar care to try to get longevity out of your bar. I mean, there's some things you can do like that to try to make your bar last quite a while. We're pretty fortunate. Our bars, these steel bars, we get a lot of life out of them. Usually the only thing we do have to replace, unless we bend a bar or something, is the nose. You might wear a sprocket out on the nose, which is a common deal. We've had brand new bars and the sprockets go out on them. We've had bars that just, like, they last forever. It's just kind of luck of the draw. You know, kind of the old saying, was it made on a Friday or a Monday? You know, you never know. So, yeah, so I'm going to take my bar and I'm going to finish filing down this edge, which got, I don't know if you can see it right here, got a little bit of that lip right there. We'll take this file. Like I said, this is an old file. It's not good for sharpening anymore, but it's good for this. And I try to keep a few of these old files around just for this reason. We'll go through here and we'll just, you know, a little harder than this because I'll have to use two hands, but we'll file all that off, both sides, front to back, make that bar smooth, get that burr kind of rolled edge off there. Then we'll get our chain on here and we'll be ready to go. Of course, we'll take the filter off. Clean filter, which every day on these saws, I try to, that's one of the big things I try to do first thing in the morning. You know, when I fuel up and I take my filter off my saws and I clean my filter. Because they attract, I mean, naturally you're cutting a lot of trees. You know, there's a lot of sawdust. So these filters are doing their job. You've got to keep them cleaned out. Another thing I just about shot video of, I cleaned the air filter out on the cat this morning. And it really wasn't that long ago I cleaned it out. And I knew when I took it off, as heavy as it was, I was like, man, this thing's going to be dirty. And you can just see the piles of dust here I beat out of that filter. It's amazing, you know, how much dust and stuff those filters will trap in a short time, especially this time of year when it's dusty conditions. So it's important, and I try to, just like the first thing I told Mike and Cahill this morning we rolled up here, I said, you know, we need to, first things first is let's fuel the machines. I wanted to go through this because I knew I'd be waiting a little bit on the drag, get this filter kind of cleaned out. I try to replace filters as needed. I try to keep some on the truck for everything. You know, it'll be fuel filters, air filters. I try to keep that stuff because a lot of times in the winter, you know, if you remember last winter's videos, we had a lot of fuel problems. Working up north, we got some bad fuel. So I always try to keep some extra filters on hand because, you know, they're quick, simple, easy to change out. You might as well just keep a few on hand. They're cheap to have. Air filters are the same way. Of course, I've got the air compressor there behind the fuel tank, between the back of the cab and the fuel cell there in front of the headache rack. But just simple things like that, cleaning out your filters, grease, the longevity machine, man, it makes them last so much longer. They run better, they run cooler, performance is better. And it's simple things like that. It really is. I'm not a mechanic by any means. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a mechanic. I hate mechanicking. I hate turning wrenches. But one thing, I try to make this stuff, just like these filters, you can do some little things. Even if you're a terrible mechanic like me, you can do some little things that anybody can do just to kind of help with breakdowns and help things run better, help them run more efficient. Fuel efficiency is a thing. I mean, you know, if you're burning less fuel, that's just more money in your pocket. And that's one thing I always try to look at is our fuel consumption. You know, to start the day off, we put $250 of fuel in the tank. We fuel the skidder up, we fuel the skid steer up, and man, it's just, if you can stretch that fuel out, I mean, you're money ahead. And simple things like this. Today's supposed to be the hottest day of the year here. You know, it's supposed to get close to 100. So just trying to keep the machine, let it run cooler. You know, be more fuel efficient. You're money ahead in the long run. Same on these saws. I'm always real big about running high octane fuel. Always 91 because that's always available, but sometimes we'll get 93. I know guys that run the 102, and I'm not above that at all, opposed to it. I think that's probably a great deal. With us getting the 102, I would probably need to buy a barrel of it because there's nothing, like I said, 91's pretty common at the pump here every now and then. You'll find 93, but as far as finding the higher octane fuels, you usually got to order that stuff in, like some race fuel or something, or the jet fuel, whatever they call that stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things. They all add up. So just a little food for thought there. The logs are starting to roll out, or have been rolling out, should I say. It's in the early afternoon. We're already back from lunch. Already working later than we really thought we would, but we want to try to get as much done as we could, even in the heat. Get that off there. It's a good 14-foot piece there. And 14 foot is the longest I can make these cuts on the quarter saw stuff. There we go. There's some big chunks of wood out here. He'll just come out with one. We'll go over here and get it worked up. I've been unhooking chokers for him to kind of speed things up, but I was actually packing some logs when he came out with that one, so he unhooked it. We'll park over here now. Get this thing measured and worked up. Get it put in the pile. Now today, the only thing we've cut today has just been Burr Oak. And that's probably what we're going to focus on tomorrow as well, is just the Burr Oak and walnut. We've still got quite a bit of pallet material. Oh boy, about did it there. We still got quite a bit of pallet material to cut, I guess. I didn't think there was that much more in there, but I guess there is. So hopefully they'll come and get those rows there out. Those first 4 rows are already gone. Now I've started this one back here. It's all Burr Oak top logs, mainly tie type logs, tie timbers. A big lightning scar right there. Looks good in the butt though, real good in the butt. It's a good log. Some of these things have been cutting on her, some have been cutting good. Just kind of luck of the draw. We'll get this devil worked up. That way we can have a decent pile of this stuff to move this week. It's always good to try to move logs every week to keep things turning. You know, you need to try to cut some timber every day if you can, sell logs every week if you can. It's nice to sell logs every week because with logging, there's a lot of money going out. Always a lot of money going out, so you constantly need to have money coming back in. We're getting, aside from the walnut pile's decent, but this Burr Oak, some better pecan in there, a few ash. That's a pretty good pile of wood and all that grade cut stuff there. Like I said, the walnut's not bad, but there's probably there might be 2,000 feet of walnut in there right now. Right around that area, I'm guessing. This Burr Oak, I'd say, I mean, like I say, you get logs like that, you get up in the footage pretty quick, and there's 4 or 5 of those guys in there. Of course, then you get some 14-footers that come out. Now, I'd say there's probably 3,500 feet of Burr Oak in there already, so. But that stuff there goes a lot farther than this whole pallet material. It just takes a multitude of that pallet to make anything. I'd say we'll work for another 45 minutes to an hour because the sun's really starting to beat down now. It's warm out here on the deck. I can only imagine how bad it is back in there. So we'll get a few more out. Then Cahill and Mike don't know it yet, but they're riding along with me to Springfield to go pay for some timber. They're probably expecting to go home, but I've got to be down there at 4:30. So in order to make that deadline, we're going to run right up 13 highway to get there. So lucky them, they're going to get some windshield time with me. Here he comes out with another decent one. Dead limbs on it. We'll see how it is. A little ornery. Good in the butt though. fairly clean on this side. It'll be a 3-sided log what we'll make out of it. We'll try to pull 12 foot off of it. It's going to make it a 3-sided. This little problem we got going on right here, this little growth. But hopefully we can pull a 12 foot piece right about here, cut it where the swell is, and just have a couple big rough logs up top. These little things, definitely time for them to be cut. Definitely time for them to come down. They're some of these are just getting in terrible shape. And I honestly believe a lot of that's because of the type of ground it is up here, how it holds water. I think that's a lot of the reason this timber ain't cutting real good. Just kind of a floodplain, holds a lot of water. Of course, this is a wet part of the world up here. You get up here around the Truman Lake, on the Grand River, up through here, it is just a wet part of the world. We'll get that thing marked, get her bucked, put her in the pile, wait for the next turn to come out. If you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for all of our latest videos.